Everyone, it's Erin with Hail Varsity. I'm joined by Greg, recruiting extraordinaire for Hail Varsity, and we were just commenting we have a very blue sky the day that we are recording this, but we are back for another recruiting question of the week. And this week's question is actually a culmination of questions a lot of you have asked. It's something that has come up when we've asked for mailbag questions or here on YouTube, and it's about local recruiting and who you need to keep an eye on. So Greg, knowing that people are curious, who are the local prospects that they need to know, because they're working themselves onto Nebraska's radar?
Yeah, I think for the 2022 class, I think the big name to know, and I think that this is going to be a growing storyline throughout this cycle, Vince Genatone, the kind of defensive athlete from North Platte. He actually took an unofficial visit to Nebraska for the first home game of the season, and so Nebraska is well aware of him. They are actively recruiting him. He does not have a scholarship offer as of yet, but he's had a very, very good start to his season. I know, tracking his stats just from the first couple games of the season, he had over 30 tackles and multiple sacks on defense. I think Nebraska...
It's not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all, right? And I think that he plays linebacker for North Platte, but I think Nebraska maybe sees him more of that kind of hybrid safety type, like closer to that JoJo Domann kind of role. And so I think the question is if he can fit into that type of role or not, and then ultimately the question that we continue to talk about with potential scholarship guys in 22, does Nebraska have room for an additional 2022 prospect?
Because it is going to be a small recruiting class. You all know that at this point. You've heard us talk about it here. You've heard us talk about it at hailvarsity.com. It's a small recruiting class. Now, the class has room at this point, but it can fill up very quickly. So who else?
That can change because you just never know how things are going to go. Like Nebraska season takes off, then all of a sudden, those spots become really premium. So we'll see. The next thing to really keep an eye on, I think, is the 2023 class. I think that there are several players in that class. Everyone watching this video knows Tatum Tuioti, Tony Tuiotti's son.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, definitely, right? The outside linebacker at Lincoln Southeast. He's having a nice junior season and is definitely on the radar. He's been to each Nebraska home game as an unofficial visitor. They treat him as an important player each time he's here, rightfully so. I think Benny Ngoyi, he is an athlete out of Lincoln High. Actually saw him just a couple of weeks ago. He's listed, I think, as more of a wide receiver. I personally was very impressed with him at defensive back, given his length. He's about 6'2", 170, 175, and has really good length and ball skills on the defensive side. And then way out on the other side of the state, a name to know is Victor Isili, who's a defensive end outside linebacker out of Scotts Bluff, who has a very similar body type to Garrett Nelson, actually, from the same high school. I think he's also a guy to know for that 2023 class.
It's good. Local recruiting, in-state recruiting, I should say, is really, really, I know for so many of you, you feel like Nebraska kids should stay in Nebraska.
Yes.
That's obviously not possible for all. It just isn't, by sheer numbers, not possible. But when you do identify this talent, you'd like to see them stay here. So it's good to know that these players are here. They're making a name and a case for themselves. And so hopefully Nebraska can start making its case for them to be interested to come here as well.
Yeah, and especially as you see more and more kids that have continued to raise their level of play, you're just getting more training throughout the state as well, more year-round focus on football. I think we just continue to see year over year the amount of talent in the state of Nebraska continue to grow, which is a great thing for the kids, and then ultimately a good thing for Nebraska too.
Great for the kids.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you as always. So if you have these questions, like I said, this one came together as a culmination of what you've asked and things that you have been sending to Greg already. Now, send those questions right now. Go leave them in the comments of this YouTube video. You can tweet at Greg Smith HV or at Hail Varsity. Like I've always said, you can tweet at me at Erin Sorensen, but I'm just going to send them to Greg anyway. But he will also have more about this in tonight's recruiting notebook. So if you are not familiar with the recruiting notebook, which you should be at this point, it goes live Sunday through Thursday, 6 p.m. Central. The Monday edition is always a bigger, deeper response to this video. So if you want to know more about those players, people to keep an eye on, head to hailvarsity.com, 6 p.m. Central this evening, and you'll be able to get more of Greg's thoughts about this topic. Greg, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, not at this point. It's always fun to talk local recruiting. I think people get super invested in it, and rightfully so.
Rightfully so. If you have questions, though, of course, local recruiting, national recruiting, whatever, leave them in the comments of this video. Tweet at us. We'd love to hear from you, and we will be back next week with another recruiting question. Thank you for watching.
Thanks.